Okay, so 21, it says the table below shows the average weight of a type of plankton after several weeks. What is the average rate of change in weight of plankton from week 8 to week 12? So in this problem, average rate of change normally means slope, and in this specific problem, it's just the slope between week 8 and week 12. It could have asked you any of them. It could have asked you 9 to 11, 9 to 12, whatever it wanted to. But what you have to remember is this is your x and y's. Average rate of change is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you subtract. So if this is your x1, y1, and this is your x2, y2, then you would do 0.49 minus 0.04 over 12 minus 8. So 0.49 minus 0.04 would be 0.45 over 4. And then if you did 0.45 divided by 4, you get 0.115, 1125, and that makes sense because this is ounces, 0.45 ounces, because that's your y, over your weeks. So you would go, you would increase 0.45 ounces per 4 weeks, or you would gain 0.1125 ounces per week. So this is doing per week, and this is doing 4 weeks. Okay. 22, Dennis compared the y-intercept of the graph y equals f of x equals 3x plus 5 to the y-intercept of the graph of a linear function. That includes the points below. What is the difference between the y-intercept of f of x? The y-intercept of f of x is 5 because it's in that form, so it's the last number. Is subtracted. What is the difference when f of x y-intercept is subtracted from the y-intercept of g of x? So here I have to find the y-intercept. The y-intercept is when this is 0 and this is a number. So there's a couple of ways to do this. Some of you will notice that it's -7, -5, -3. It's going down, or it's increasing 2 each time. So with that being said, -1 would go to 1, and this is going up 1 each time. So 1, 1, or excuse me, 1, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The only reason this pattern works is because it says it's a linear function, so it has to go up by the same amount. So if I wanted to find it when it was 0, it would be between -1 and 1, and between 5 and 6 is 5.5. So the y-intercept of g of x would be 5.5. Don't get tricked and pick D. It says, what is the difference when the f of x y-intercept is subtracted from g of x? So the g of x is 5.5. You take away 5. So your answer would be 0.5, which is C. Another way to do this is to go to Stat, Edit, and then in L1 put your x's. And in L2 put your y's. And then you're going to find the linear function. So hit Stat, go to Calc, and go to number 4, and hit Enter. So the function, you put a in for a and b in for b. So the function is y equals 0.5x plus 5.5. So you get 5.5 again. I like this way better because it gives you the function to use, and it's more applicable to more of the problems. So you would take 5.5 and subtract this one to get 0.5. It's just a coincidence that that slope is 0.5. It's not always going to be the case. All right, 23, cell phone company Y charges $10 startup fee plus 10 cents per minute, which is X, and cell phone company Z charges 20 cents per minute, which is X, with no startup fee. What function represents the difference in cost between Y and X, or Y and Z? So the difference in cost would mean you subtract. So you're going to get the cost of Y and the cost of z and subtract them. So the cost of y would be a $10 startup fee plus 10 cents per minute. And the cost of z would be 20 cents per minute with no startup fee. So it would be $0. So now you're going to do 10 plus 0.10x and take away 0.2 or 20.2x. I'm going to put that in parentheses just because I know I'm subtracting that quantity. It would matter if this one did have a startup fee because you'd have to distribute it through. So you'd do minus whatever that startup fee was. So simplifying this, nothing goes with the 10, but 0.10 minus 0.2 would be minus 0.10 again. So your answer there would be B. It's in a different order, but the signs are with the same numbers. Okay, number 24. Monica did an experiment to compare two methods of warming an object. The results are shown in the table. So method 1, you can see in hour, the time is in hours, it's increasing by 1. It goes from 0 to 5 to 11 to 15 to 19 to 25. This one is 1.5 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 2. You can obviously see that this one is doubling. And this one, it's going up by 5 and then 6 and then 4 and then 4 and then 6. So it's right about the same, but it ranges 5, 6, 4, 4, and then another 6. So it's going up by that much. Which statement best describes the results? The temperature using both methods changed at a constant rate. Constant rate would mean the same thing each time. This is close to a constant rate, but this is definitely not a constant. The temperature using both methods changed exponentially. Exponentially is this. Exponentially is when something doubles or triples or increases by a certain percentage. So method 2 would be exponential, method 1 would not. The temperature using method 2 changes at a constant rate. And it doesn't change at a constant rate because here it's going up 1.5. Here it's going up plus 3 and then plus 6 and then plus 12. It's not going up by a constant rate, but it is doubling each time, which that means something different. The temperature using method 2 changed exponentially. That would be your answer. Okay, number 25. Mario compared the slope of the function graph below, so there's the slope of the function graph below, to a linear function that has the x-intercept of 4/3 and a y-intercept of -2. So with this one, find the slope of this first. So you can see there's an ordered pair here and there's an ordered pair here. The slope would be rise 1 and you run 3. So the slope of this one would be 1/3. Now you have to find the slope of this one to see which one is smaller, because that's what the question is asking, which is a smaller slope. So x-intercept means that there's an ordered pair of 0, 4/3. And the y-intercept means there's a, I'm sorry, that's wrong. X-intercept would mean there is an ordered pair of 4/3, 0, and a y-intercept has a 0, -2. Because here, if I do 4/3, 0, it would be somewhere here, and 0, -2 would be here. So this is your y-intercept, and that's your x. So all we need to do is find the slope of these. So to find the slope, remember you do y2 minus y1. So I'll let this equal x1, y1, x2, y2. So we're going to do -2 minus 0, y2 minus y1, over 0 minus 4/3. So that would be -2 over -4/3. This is a fraction here. So in your calculator, if you do -2 divided by and put it in parentheses, you get -1.5. And we'll change that to a decimal or a fraction, which is -3/2. So -3/2 is the slope I'm sorry, it's not negative 3/2, it's negative 2 divided by negative, so that would be positive. So positive 3/2. So 3/2 is 1.5, and this is 1/3, which is less than a half. So this one would be the smaller slope. It's important to find both of them there to make sure that you are comparing the right numbers together. Okay, number 26. The boiling point T measured in degrees at altitude A is modeled by this function. You notice this is linear because the exponent is 1. In terms of altitude and temperature, which statement best describes the slope? Now when I look at this, I notice that the words are the same. These numbers are just the things that are changing. The thousand's not even changing, just this 1.18. And I also notice that some are increasing. The altitude is increasing each time. But here, I'm increasing, and then decreasing. So I could eliminate 2 of those. If you think about it, slope has a negative exponent, so that would mean something was decreasing. So these 2 would be out. So I'll just be looking at this. Oh, excuse me, those 2 would be one of the answers. These 2 would be out because this is increasing and this is obviously decreasing. So what that means is you have negative 0.0018 over 1 as a slope. This is doing degrees per 1,000 feet. This is doing degrees per 1 foot. So what you can do is take each of your answer choices and say, okay, 18 divided by 1,000. That would get it in comparison to 1 foot as opposed to 1,000 feet. So this one is 0.018. But if I do 1.8 divided by 1,000, it would be 0.0018, which is what I need. So this is my answer. Okay. All right. Now this one, a line segment has endpoints 2, 4, and 6, 8. The points K is the midpoint of JL. So J is at 2, 4, which would be somewhere here. And then 6, 8 would be somewhere, this is bad, but 6, 8. So I'm trying to find the midpoint that's about right here. The point K is the midpoint of JL, so that's K. What is the equation of a line perpendicular to JL and passing through K? So what I'm looking for is a line perpendicular to JL, but it passes through that value. So the first thing I need to do is find that ordered pair. And how you find ordered pairs of a midpoint are you add the x's together and add the y's together. And then you divide them by 2. So you're essentially taking an average of them. So here we go. You would do 2 plus 6, divide that by 2. And then do 4 plus 8 and divide that by 2. Because here's your x's. Add 2 and 6 together and then add your y's. Now that would be 8 over 2 and then 12 over 2, which would reduce to 2, 6. All right, now, you should be able to get the answer from here. If I'm trying to find the equation of this line, well, the equation of this line should be negative. Or, excuse me, the equation of this line, the slope of it should be negative. So it either has to be A or B. So these are out. And then if you think about it, the y-intercept is either 10 or negative 10. Logically, it cannot be negative 10 because that's way down here. So the answer is here. But how I taught you to do this in the class was to find the slope of this red line. So if we just found the slope of this red line by doing 8 minus 4 over 6 minus 2, I would get 4 over 4, which is 1. The slope of this line is 1. Perpendicular slopes, remember, you flip them, so that's 1 over 1. So if I flip it, it looks like the same. And you change the sign. So that new slope would be negative 1. So this slope would be negative 1. Then to find the equation, you would write y equals mx plus b. The slope is negative 1, and take one of these ordered pairs, 2 and 4. Oh, I'm sorry. You wouldn't take one of these ordered pairs. You would take the midpoint ordered pair. The midpoint ordered pair, which I just erased. Let me go back. So the ordered pair here was 2, 6. So you would want to find the equation that goes through 2, 6, but has a slope of negative 1. So here's the equation. Negative 1 is the slope, and it passes through 2, 6. I messed up. Okay, so 27. A line segment has endpoints 2, 4, and 6, 8. The point K is the midpoint of JL. So you have this segment, 2, 4, and 6, 8. So this is J and L, and it says if you connect those, the midpoint is going to be K. What is the equation line perpendicular to JL and passing through K? Now, if you take this and you find a perpendicular line, remember it forms 4 right angles here. You should be able to answer this question without doing any more work, because if you can sketch this, you can tell that the slope is negative, so these are out. And you can tell that the y-intercept is up here. The y-intercept has to be 10 or negative 10, and it obviously would have to be 10 if it's going that way. But to do this mathematically, then we would have to find the midpoint here. So you would do x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. Okay, so you would do this x1, and this is x2. So you would do 2 plus 6 over 2, and 4 plus 8 over 2, which that would equal 8 over 2 and 12 over 2, not 6. Oh, let's do that again. That would equal 8 over 2 and 12 over 2. So this midpoint would be 4, 6. So to find perpendicular slopes, you would need to know the slope of JL. So to find the slope of JL, you would do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which would be 8 minus 4 over 6 minus 2, which would be 4 over 8 minus 4 and 6 minus 2. That would be 4 over 4, which is 1. So the slope of this blue line is 1. Remember how to do perpendicular slopes. You put it over 1, and then you flip them, which wouldn't change that look, the way it looks, but then you would change the sign. So the slope of the green line would have to be -1. So how do you find the slope-intercept form at that point? How do you find the slope-intercept form of the green line? You do y equals mx plus b. The slope has to be -1. And then it has to pass through 4, 6. Because that's the point of k. So 4 goes in for x and 6 for y. And then you would do here, oh sorry, that should be a plus sign. Then you would add 4 to both sides to get 10. So the slope would be negative and the y-intercept would be 10. -1 and y-intercept would be 10. Okay. All right, number 28. So on this one, you would need the distance formula. So the distance formula is where you subtract the x's and square them and subtract the y's and square them and then find the length. So you've got this triangle at 1, 3, 2, -3, and -1, 1. So 1, 3, 2, -3, and -1, 1. So graph those on your graph paper doing this, and then you're going to find the length of each. So I need to find this length. I'm going to do that in red. So here is the formula you need to memorize. C is the length. So you would do 1 minus, that's x minus -1 squared, plus 3 minus -1 squared equals c squared. This would be 1 plus 1, and this would be 4 squared, because it would be 3 plus 1. This is 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 squared is 4, plus 16, which would be 20. Okay. And if this is 20, you would need the approximate value, so you would take the square root of 20, which is going to be 4.47. And you do that all the way around. So that is the distance of this one. And then we have to find the distance of this one. So you would do, again, x, 1 minus 2, square it, 3 minus -3, square it, and that would equal your c squared. So this is -1 squared plus 3 plus, I'll put that parentheses in the wrong place, 3 plus 3, because that's negative there, would be 6 squared equals c squared. That would be 1 plus 36 equals c squared, which would be 37 equals c squared. Square root of 37, 6.08. So you know now you probably could stop, because 6 plus 4 is going to be 10. Oh, I'm sorry, you couldn't stop. I know that I could eliminate A because I'm already over, and perimeter is distance all the way around. So if 2 of them are already at 10, then I know A could not be the answer. So now I have one more left. I'm going to go ahead and erase this part here. Oh, no. Just so I have more room here. I'm going to do the blue. So again, I would do my x's. -1 minus 2 squared plus -1 minus -3 squared equals the new c squared. So this would be -3 squared, and this would be 2 squared. So that would be 9 plus 4 equals c squared, which would be 13. Square root of 13. Oops, sorry. I didn't put parentheses there. It doesn't hurt on this one because it's just one number. But if you had multiple numbers, you would need to. So that's 3.6. So 3.6 plus the other two, 4.47. I know most of you know the answer already. Is about 14. So I would round down there because it's closer to 14 than it is 15. Okay. All right, 29. 29, the table below shows the area of several states. So this is the area. Delaware has an area of 2,000 square miles, which is true if Delaware is included in the data set. If you thought about this, 2,000 square miles. This is in thousands of square miles. So the Delaware (2,000 square miles) would be a 2. So which is true if Delaware is included? So think about this. The mean is the average. So if I average these first, and I put a 2 in there, would that really change it a lot? It would change it, but would it increase the mean? No, because it's a smaller number. The range decreases, so that means it gets smaller. So let's think about subtracting the largest from the smallest. Would the range decrease or increase? And in that case, it would increase. We can kind of logically think about that. The interquartile range decreases and the standard deviation increases. So you probably have a guess now. I think A and B are easily eliminated. However, if you go to Stat and go to Edit, clear your list, and then put the numbers in without Delaware. So if you type the numbers in, then if you go to Stat and Calc, and you go to 1 bar stats, it's going to tell you almost everything you need to know. The mean is going to be the very first one. So let's do without Delaware. The mean is that X bar. So you got 31.0375. What about the range? If you scroll down, it tells you the minimum and the maximum. So the range would be 59. Let's just pull this over here. The range would be 59 minus 6, which is 53. Okay. The interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1. So if you take 54 and you subtract 10, you get 44. And then the standard deviation, we have to go back here. The standard deviation is going to be that SX, so 23.7. So I want to write these down here. The mean is 30, I'm going to put them right here, 31.375, then 53, and then 44, and then 23.7. Now the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Stat, go to Edit, and at the end, I'm going to put A2. I have to hit enter and 2 enter. So you see I've added 2 at the end there. Now what will mess you up on this is if you put 2,000. You've got to remember this is in thousands of square feet. So go do the same thing. Let's see how it switched. So 1 var stats. So I'm going to do this in red. The mean is 28.1. So 31.375 to 28.1, it did not increase. The range is going to be the max minus the min. So that's 59 minus 2. 59 minus 2 is 57. And just as we predicted, 53 to 57 did not decrease. The IQR is 54, the Q3 minus 7.5. So 54 minus 7.5 would be 46.5. So the interquartile range actually increased, and the standard deviation is 24.2. And it definitely increased. So D would be your answer. Okay, so that's one way to find all the data with it or without it, and then with it, and then you can compare. All right. And the last one, the college surveyed 3,500 of its students to determine if the students preferred music, movies, or sports. The results of the survey are shown in the relative frequency table. So look at that. You know, a relative frequency table is a percent. So how many more seniors than juniors were included in the survey? So what you know is that total is 3,500 students. But it says seniors, which is seniors. If I add those up, 0.08, 0.09, that's 0.17 plus 0.10 is 0.27. And juniors would be 0.1 plus 0.06 would be 0.16 plus 0.08 would be 0.24. So we know that essentially 24% of the survey was juniors and 27% was seniors. So all you have to do is do 24% times 3,500, and you get 840. Oh, what did I do? 27, 24. So 840 were juniors, and 27% was seniors. How many more seniors than juniors were included? So now you have to do 945 minus 840, and you get 105, which is your answer.